Hey everyone, my name is Josh Gladstone and I'm Manager of Content Services here at Klue. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, competitive intel newsletters. In the world of Compete, things happen fast. So you need to know how to stay ahead of the competition and provide timely updates to your teams. It could be about anything, an acquisition, a new product launch, a big shakeup. Whatever it might be, a competitive newsletter does exactly that. Gives you the resources and the tools to share those timely updates in an efficient way so you can, as I mentioned, stay ahead of the competition. So today I'm going to show you some best practices, some tips and tricks of how you can do exactly that, building a newsletter inside of Klue. All right, so before we build our first newsletter, we have to answer a really important question. Who are we building this newsletter for? As you can see here, we have a variety of different audiences that have different news needs. For example, if you're a seller, you want to know some information about the competition that can help you either defend against them or leverage it in a sales cycle. So you want to know things like product updates, corporate challenges, mergers and acquisitions, and so much more. But if you're an executive, your needs might change a little bit. Sure, if it's a big product update, a fundamental one, you want to know about that. But if it's a little tiny change in the product, that doesn't matter as much to you as an executive. But what does matter are things like financial updates, leadership changes, the more directional strategic elements that are happening to your competition. So with this in mind, we're going to focus today's demo on the sales audience. Let's dive into the platform. Here you can see that we are a fictitious payments company called Pied Piper Tech up against some big payments heavyweights in the industry like Square, PayPal, Stripe. So to get started, we're going to head over to our alerts module. To do that, we'll go to Discover and click on Alerts. Now I'm going to open that in a new tab. And here we can see that we have a variety of new intel, 306 articles that have come through in the last 2 days. But the good news is that we can use our filters up top or on the right to really drill into the critical information that matters to us. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask myself 2 questions. 1, who do I care about in this space? And 2, what do I actually care about? So as I mentioned, we're focused on those big payments competitors. So to really drill into that subsection of our competition, I'm going to go to all boards and I can either select the individual competitors here, or I can go to board groups and select that overall group, primary payments. Next, I'm going to navigate to different topics. So as I mentioned, we're focused on sellers. So I'm going to select things like product, which matters to us, not financials, corporate challenges, not leadership changes, not events. Maybe partnerships can matter too, growth and contraction, and mergers and an acquisition. Cool. Now we've really drilled down the alerts from 306 down to 23 results. So I'm going to do 2 things to expand this a little bit. Number 1 is I'm going to select the last 7 days. Again, I can do that up here under the date filter there, but last 7 days are selected, and now we've broadened it up quite a bit. So before we go in and start what we call triaging alerts, I'm going to do one more thing, which is I'm going to select my favorite button in this entire platform called the recommended alerts button. What this will do is use our algorithm to select what are the most relevant alerts based off your previous alert triaging methodology to recommend some really critical alerts for your competition. As you can see here, the recommended button puts this nice little recommended button at the bottom of the alert, so you know that you're dealing with the good stuff first. Now, I love this view. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So before I get started, I'm actually going to save this view so I can have it for future reference. I'm going to go to Save As, and now I'm going to call it Josh's favorite payments view. It's a bit lengthy, but you know what I'm going for. And I'm going to hit Save. Now, whenever I come back to the platform, I can just go down here to My Saved Views, click this, and boom, ready to dance with some good alerts. So now we're ready to start triaging these alerts. Now, there are 2 ways to do that. One is you can go through and scroll through the alerts, and you can find ones that are relevant to you, but that doesn't work for me. I like efficiency. So instead, I'm going to head over to our triage mode, and when I turn this on, this is going to bring some nice fancy buttons up top here. So you can see things like important, interesting, archive, or delete, and by clicking each of these buttons, you can quickly go through each of the alerts one by one. But what's also cool about this mode is that you have up here some keyboard shortcuts, A, S, D, and F, or you can click up and down, V or left to go back, a variety of different tools at your disposal to go through these really quickly. So let's get started. First things first, I'm going to go through and look for alerts that are relevant to me. Now, this is important. It's about PayPal. It's about crypto. You know, in the payments industry, this is going to be critical. So before I actually triage this alert, I'm going to click the nice summarize button over here. This is going to use our AI tools inside of Klue to give us a really nice high-level view of what this article is about. But you'll see over here that we have a nice button called length and format. So I'm going to click this because this will allow me to dictate, do I want it to be a long summary, a short summary, or do I want it as bullets or a paragraph? Now for me, I like to keep things nice and tight, so I'm going to go for bullets and short. I'm going to use this as my default for other alert summaries as well. Click apply, let it do its magic, and here we go. 5, maybe 6 bullet points about the competition and what this article is about. So I think that this is pretty important. So I'm actually going to select the important button, and you'll see that it heads over to our smart sets into the important folder over here. We'll come back there later where we'll actually add some of these alerts into our newsletter or digest. PayPal launches a payment solution for Dutch SMEs. Absolutely. Summarize again, get that nice quick summary, and click important. And there we go. This is pretty cool. I'm going to leave this as interesting. This is all about a new competitor called Free to Book. Maybe this is cool for later. I'm going to archive this instead. And finally, we have a bit about OpenAI. Not exactly relevant to our competitor Stripe over here, but they are being mentioned in the article. So at any point, I can go back and check it out, why they're being mentioned in the article. So I'm going to click delete. All right, that seems pretty good. We have about 3 articles to go through. So let's head over to our smart sets and start to add those to the digest. So when you go to important, you can see those recent articles that we just triaged. And over here, we can see 2 buttons. One is publish and the other is add to digest. If you click publish, this will add it to the feed, which all of your sellers can see when they come to the platform. This is really cool if you don't want to share an immediate article in their emails, but rather want it to be available when they log into Klue. But for today, we're going to click add to digest. When you do this, this is going to prompt you to add a why it matters. This is perhaps the most critical element of building a digest because sure, a summary is great. What is the article about? But what sellers really care about is why does it matter to them? So to build an amazing Intel digest, we have to answer 3 things for each article. One is, what is the fact? What is the article about? 2 is, what is the impact? Why does it matter to your sellers or to the industry at large? And finally, what is the action? What should you do about this? So for this article, I'm going to go in and what we can do is a bit of editing magic here where I'm just going to maybe snap my fingers and we will have all of these filled out for all of the articles. Here we go. And we're back. Thank you, Grayson, for that editing magic. I've gone through those alerts that we triaged and I've added in a critical why it matters for each. But there's one more thing. It isn't just alerts from around the web that matter to my team. It's some of the conversations happening inside of the company that matters as well that I want to share far and wide. So to do that, I can head over to All Intel and I can select a variety of sources to really filter into some alerts or some intel that's happening from within the company. So here I can select Slack, in-app or email, or even Microsoft Teams. For now, I'm going to select Slack. And what you can see is that it actually pulls up a Slack message that one of my colleagues has shared about the competitor. Now, this is awesome. This is perfect for my digest. So I'm going to click Add to Digest. And I'm going to share maybe a why it matters. Check out this incredible information from my esteemed colleague, Janelle. All right, amazing. So we've added in 3 articles from the web, 1 Slack message from my awesome colleague, Janelle. Now let's go in and actually create the digest. So a lot of this magic has been happening in the back end, but if you go to share and go to digest, open it up in a new tab, we can see that we have a default newsletter here that I've titled the weekly team newsletter. Now, at any point, you can go to settings and you can change the title of this newsletter. You can adjust who it goes to. You can indicate different visibility groups, for example. And you can even select Josh's templates, some digest templates, of which I've created a new template called Josh's Awesome Template, but we'll talk about that in a moment here. So when you head into the digest, you can see that it's gone ahead and added in each of those articles that I've selected alongside the why it matters with my fact, impact, and act, and a summary. Now, for the fact, impact, and act, you don't need to separate it out like this in 3 different sections, but I like to do that for the purpose of this demo. But now we get to the fun part, the subject and the digest intro. What are the best practices for creating really click-worthy subjects and read-worthy digest intros? Well, for a subject line, I like to use an acronym called TABLESPOON, TBS. We want to give it a theme, we want to give it a benefit, and we want to keep it short. So for a theme, what I recommend there is keeping it consistent week over week so that whenever it lands in one of your audience's inboxes, they know what they're getting, some juicy intel about the competition. So because we are Pied Piper, I'm going to call this one the Piper. And when it comes to benefit, I want to share some big info about what's inside. So maybe something like Stripe is added again with a new launch. And because I'm keeping it under 65 to 70 characters, we can indicate that this is a short title. But now we get to the digest intro. So as I mentioned, we want to make sure that the benefit is really clear about what's inside, because we all know that when we get an email and it's long and lengthy, we're not that inclined to read unless it actually matters to us. So I'm going to add a digest intro, again with the editing magic of Grayson. This time I will clap my hands. I'll see you in a second. And we're back. So we got our digest intro here. I will delete that little bit where we're really just sharing, here's what is going on in our space this week. So when you're happy with this, I'm going to click Save Changes. And now just for one final touch, I'm going to go and reorder some of the content. I actually want that PayPal article to come first. That looks good to me. I'm going to hit Done Reordering. And now this is ready to auto send in 6 days, or I can hit Send Now. Now, I actually love this template. I love having a digest intro up front. I like having the featured articles. So what I'm going to do really quickly is I'm just going to copy this to my clipboard, and I'm going to erase these elements over here because I want to keep it nice and blank so I can actually add this as a new template. So I'm going to click Save as New Template. Here we'll call this Josh's second awesome template, and I'll click Save. And now I'm just going to paste all of our good stuff back in there, hit Save Changes. But now here's why this is cool. Let's say I want to curate another digest for a different audience. Well, let's talk about that for a second. When you return to Digest Overview, you can select either a new recurring digest, one that happens just like this one, week over week, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever you would like it to be, or you can select a new one-time digest. So let's say there was a big article about the competitor. I want to share a quick one-off digest for my executive team. Here's how I can do that. New one-time digest, we'll call it the Executive Pulse. And here, if I want, I can select our visibility groups where I can actually just select the executive leadership team and unselect full access users. And finally, now I can select Josh's awesome template over here. I'll click Done. And here we have it, the Executive Pulse, which must be sent manually. And when it is sent manually, then it is removed, wow, can't speak this morning, from our digest overview. Now, the final thing I want to mention is next steps. How do you improve this week over week? Well, as you can see at the very bottom here, we have our stats about each digest. We can see opens, unique opens, and of course, click-throughs into the individual articles. This is really important because we want to be challenge testing things like the subject line length, the style, the tone, making sure that we're continually evolving our best practices so that we're driving the best type of engagement. What articles should we include? What should we not include? Those are some things to think about going forward. But all in all, with all this information, I think you're ready to spin up your first or maybe second, perhaps 100th Intel newsletter, but it'll be the best one you do for sure. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.